מצוות וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Thank you, Kate.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I have some changes to the service that I think you're going to like, but I also would like to announce that if there's ever a part of the service that you would like to do, so I know sometimes leading the whole thing can be intimidating, but if you want to do like a half of it, or if there's a part that you think you'd really like to add your own style to, definitely get in contact with Susan or Ken or myself, and we'll support you and work together to put together a service that everybody will enjoy.
Yeah, one of the beauties of this book is there's so many optional items in it that if any song or prayer or reading speaks to you, please let it speak to all of us.
Nicely put. We'll start on page 6 in English. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into the sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May the holiness wrap around us as we cross in its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer.
Michael, if I may read on page 9, one of my favorite parts.
You may.
These are the days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we cannot gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to require, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if we were born of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder for the mystery of creation. These are the days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. We offer thanks, O God, for this Shabbat, which unites us in faith and hope, for Shabbat holiness, which inspires sacred living, for Shabbat memories, glowing even in darkness, for Shabbat peace, born of friendship and love. We offer thanks and blessings, O God.
Thank you, Ken. Let's continue on page 13. Although I might stall a little bit. Did Susan just come in and go downstairs? Okay, I'm going to stall to get to page 13.
He's stalling for a voice.
And
Yeah, the voice you won't get from me tonight.
we'll skip momentarily to page 15. And let's read together at the bottom of page 15 a Solomon English. Sing to Adonai a new song, for God has worked wonders. God's right hand, God's holy arm, has won God victory. Adonai has manifested God's victory, has displayed God's triumph in the sight of the nations. God is mindful of God's steadfast love and faithfulness towards the house of Israel. All the ends of the earth beheld the victory of our God. Raise a shout to Adonai, all the earth. Break into joyous songs of praise. I chose that particular psalm because I feel like I need to believe that God is working in the world. Although, to be honest, we need to be working it too. But nonetheless, with all the chaos that is about, there's time to stop. And Ken's was a very personal approach, and this approach is more between God and the people of Israel as a whole. And I'd like to think about ultimately good winning out over evil, to be honest. So that's why I chose that one. But I mean, the purpose of this first bunch of psalms is really to get us off of our shopping lists and our to-do lists, and to sort of recenter our intention on praying during Shabbat. And it can be a tough challenge at times. So I'm going to, we're on page 13. We're going to do our Shiru Adonai.
Thanks.
So this is Psalm 96, on page 13.
My favorite one.
Yeah. Shiru Adonai,
Shir Chadash, Shiru Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai, Baruch Hu Shemo, Asiru Miyom Yom Yeshuato, Shiru Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai, Baruch Hu Shemo, Basiru Miyom Yom Yeshuato.
Do we sing additional verses of that? If you do, you help with that.
No, those are the only ones I know. We usually can do it in around the.
I will make it a goal to learn additional verses. A little bit each week, and soon I'll get there.
All right.
It's a lot less expensive than $25,000 a year for rabbinical school. Let's go to page 20. We're going to do Lachado D. Well, again, before that, if there is a psalm that I have skipped that you would like to make sure it gets read, I will take the time to read it. Otherwise, we will read the first 3 verses of Lachado D, and then turn and face the back and read the Sabbath Bride for verse number 9. So we're page 20. Lechado di likra kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lechado di likra kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Shamor zachor b'dibur echad, Tishmi'enu el hamlichad, Adonai echad. Kabbalah. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki himor ta'alacha, merosh mikadem nisucha. Sof ma'aseh rashat tefillah, lefadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela, lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Mikdash melech ir melucha, kumitzi mechocha v'fecha, ravla shevet be'emek racha, v'chuyat kamo alay tefillah, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela. Bo shalom ateret bala, gam bashimcha u'tzala, tochen munai am segula, boi chala, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat mekabela.
Be seated. In honor of Akiva's wedding this weekend, we will read the Psalm 92, but we'll do it in English. We'll do it responsively at the bottom of page 22 by couplet. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness at each night.
With a 10-string harp, with the voice and lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shout for joy at your handiwork.
How great are your works, Adonai, how very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know, a fool cannot understand this.
The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God.
In old age they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness,
attesting that Adonai is upright,
my rock,
in whom there is no wrong.
Now, on page 24, let's sing together Shalom Aleichem. And we'll do both the Hebrew, and then we'll do the English with the Hebrew too. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom,
Kadosh Baruch Hu.
Enter in peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High. Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bless me with peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High. Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Depart in peace, O messengers of peace, angels of the Most High. Majesty of majesties, Holy One of blessing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And I believe, if I can count correctly, I think we have a minion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we can say that. Let's say the Kaddish on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamadi v'achirute, v'yamlik malchute, v'chayekon v'yomekon v'chayek l'chol Beit Israel, ba'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'olam me'al maya, Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah. Baruch Leila min kol birata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nehamata, damiran v'yama v'imru. Amen. If we can all stand for the Baruch Hu at this time. Baruch Hu Adonai Hamvarach. Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Is there a point that I'm forgetting? Okay. Page 30, we can sit down. On page 32 at the top, let's sing together in Hebrew. Ahavat Olam. Everlasting love. Ahavat Olam Beit Israel. Amcha Ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot u'kim u'mishpatim. Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu. V'shavenu u'kumeinu. Nasiya berukecha. V'nizmach v'divrei Toratecha. Uv'mitzvotecha. Le'olam va'ed. Ki hein chayenu v'orech yameinu. V'lachem neged yomam v'layla. V'avatcha atasir mimenu l'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. On page 33 at the bottom in English. Responsively, wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol.
All these things your Torah gives to us.
And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives.
What could be a truer token of your abiding love
Than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Hamoz
Yisrael. Sing the Shema together on page 34. And if it's your custom to stand, do so. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shekemo Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Let's remain standing and sing V'yahavta together. V'yahav Et Adonai Elohecha V'chol vavcha U'v'chol nafshecha U'v'chol me'odecha V'hayu hadabarim ha'ele Asher Anochi mitzavcha Hayom al levavecha V'shinantam levanecha V'dibarta ba'am V'shivtecha ve'techa U'veftecha v'aderech U'v'shachba kumecha U'v'shartam la'od al yadecha V'hayu la'totafot b'neinecha U'v'tavtam al mezuzot beitecha U'v'isharecha Laman sikru va'asitem kol mitzvotai v'yitetem kedoshim be'elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzetzi etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'elohim Adonai Elohechem. Sit down. You may be seated. To prepare for Michamocha, we're going to read the bottom of page 39 responsively by paragraph. And then jump into the Hebrew on page 40. In a world torn by violence and pain, in a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love.
From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets, instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Mi
Chamocha Elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha Neder Kodesh, Norah Tehilot, Oseh Peled.
Malchutecha uvanecha boker yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze Eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimlok le'olam va'ed. V'nehemar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. And take a deep breath before Ashkivenu. Ashkivenu, I've heard it described as a Jewish lullaby, because we're giving a chance for someone to lie down in peace and relax. I think it's more than a lullaby, but it works as a lullaby. Maybe I'll try babysitting again and see if it works.
What page?
42, I'm sorry. We'll do the first verse and then we'll do the Ushmor, and then Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu v'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Skip down. Ushmor tzeitzenu uvoenu l'chaim shalom
Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'chamineinu shomreinu l'chaim.
My voice is getting tired, so I'm going to strategically move to the Amidah. But before I do, I want to say a couple of words about the topic that I've been discussing with a number of people who are married to me. No,
Or what?
Who are married to him.
Oh.
think I'm the only one.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask if he had a harem, but
Abraham was allowed to, but not me. But actually not just, but also a number of people have asked me, and I've asked myself this a lot, why do we read the Amidah silently and then aloud? The surface reason seems to work, but it hasn't really been valid for about 500 years, which is, it's to help the illiterate or people who don't have access to a prayer book say it. But that's not quite it, because nowadays most people have access to a prayer book and most people can read, and there's no more temple official who wanders around and discreetly asks people if they need it to be read aloud. The reason given, and I'm not going to repeat it, I think that's a bit tedious, but I'm going to tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to read it silently, and I'm going to just read the first 3 prayers up through the Kadesh, and then we're going to stop the public reading. The reason why we do it aloud as well as quietly is if you actually have somebody in the pulpit right now who could sing well, there's a certain pleasure in saying amen, and just like there's a pleasure in praying quietly in silence, there's also a pleasure in being swept away by beautiful music and saying amen when the appropriate time comes along. So the public out loudness enhances the prayer experience. However, that does not mean necessarily that, my preference said to do all silently or all aloud, but don't do both. But we're going to sort of take the middle ground and just going to do the beginning out loud, and then we'll move forward. After the Amidah, the time I usually would give, I'm going to give a very, very, very quick Devar Torah, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the summer schedule and how we'd like to continue services over the summer. So a little group discussion. And we're on page 46 now. I'm going to read this part out loud, just the and then we're going to pray silently to ourselves through page 62. And then when we're done, we can be seated. So let's all rise. This is an appointment. The Amidah is an appointment with God. God's not going to keep you in the waiting room forever, but we do have to rise. Adonai sifratai tivtak ufi yagita hilatecha. O God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. I'm going to commence reading from 48 till 52, and you can say amen at the appropriate time. But before I do, I often have trouble with prayer, the power of prayer. And this passage helps me sometimes stay on the boat when the weather's a bit rough. So we're in the middle of page 47. I'll just read it. Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. And begin on page 48. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, V'avoteu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'chonei HaKol, V'zocher Chazdei Avot v'Imaot, Uv'migula Libnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo B'achava, Melech Ozer U'Mashiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah. Page 50. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Metim, Atah Rav L'Hoshiyah, Mechalchel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayei HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim. So make Noflim V'Rochei Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mechayim Emunato, L'Shnei Afar, Micha Mocha Bal Givuro, U'Midom Melach, Melech Meimid, U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Naman Natat L'Chayot Meitim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaMeitim. And on page 52. Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim V'Yachol Yom Ye'olu Chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Nice. That's the end of the public reading that we're going to do, but I still like to close with Osei Shalom, and then Osei. Help me to kick off the tune though, for some reason I'm forgetting.
It's on page 62.
62.
Say shalom b'mrama, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'yavol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, Yavol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, Yavol Yisrael. Imeru, amen.
A couple of quick remarks. When I was reading the Avot V'Imaot, thinking about all of our ancestors, I caught something on the internet about the grave of the patriarchs, which is currently in Hebron, which is currently in territories that we Jews do not control, but we have access to part of the building. But this building is 2,000 years old. It was built by Herod and is the oldest building that's still used for the purpose for which it was originally built. People still visit it. People still bless their children there, to start off their lives. I just found that heartwarming to know that some of our traditions aren't just names; they're actual, they connected with actual places and events again. So, no real moral there, but I just found that heartwarming. Okay. Real briefly, the Torah portion that we read for today is the longest portion in the entire liturgical year. It consists of 4 chapters of the book of Numbers, the last of which is 80 verses long. So, who wants the first Aliyah? I'm not going to read it, obviously, verse by verse. We're not going to go there again. But one of the highlights of this section is the priestly blessing that we say to everybody, Kain Hiratso, may the Lord rise to greet you. And that's where that comes from. The Haftorah is probably more story-focused and easier to understand. It's the birth of Samson. In this section, Samson's mother is instructed on how to raise him. They have a meeting with an angel who tells her that he's not to have anything from a grapevine. There's one other restriction that I apologize that I forgot. And he's never to cut his hair. You know how that worked out. But this focused on the birth, not necessarily on Samson's life. But what was interesting is that they had 3 conversations with the angel. And the mother said to the angel, wait, I still don't get it. Can you give me more details? And the angel came back and gave her more details. And her husband said, you better be careful, because if we keep talking with angels, we're going to get in trouble and we're going to get swept away or made invisible, what have you. And the woman said, if they had wanted to do that, they would have done it. So you don't have to worry. So it's the one time when we're so fearful of talking with God, but this is one instance where they're not only talking with God, but they're talking about fairly common life types of things. What to feed your baby, how to raise them. It's the beginning of the Jewish tradition of being meddlesome to other people's babies. So those are just the highlights. That's what we're reading at this point. So bring me to my main topic, which is summer in Judaism is traditionally not one of our more active seasons. Typically, a lot of, back in the 40s and 50s, a lot of Jews left their hometowns, went to the beach, closed the synagogues up for the entire summer. And sometimes they went to temple on the beach, but usually they didn't. Judaism was effectively closed down for the summer until, the week before Yom Kippur, basically.
I always thought it was he just here because we didn't have air conditioning.
Well, that's basically part of it. Nobody had air conditioning either, and nobody wanted to be inside all summer. The other thing is that the summer, in terms of holidays, is punctuated by 2 major fast days. The 17th of Tammuz, that commemorates a assassination of a governor, and the 9th of Av, which commemorates the fall of the Second Temple, and the reading of the entire book of Lamentations. Now, I'm no promotion artist, but I find it challenging to get people in for that. But it's still important, it's still serious. It's a fast day, just like Yom Kippur. Most people don't realize it because they're not here. Because we don't sit down and read it. We basically leave Shavuot, we come back, we get ready for the high holidays. So on the positive side, we get to understand the downs, and we might appreciate the redemption that comes in September better if we, if we're here, we stay open, and I'll offer this to you. What I wanted to know from you was, do we want to continue our services? So there are 3 options: not have services until after the picnic. Option 2 is continue to have services every 2 weeks, and if nobody shows up, the world won't end. We can at least sit down and read a couple of psalms together, and we can still pray together. We just can't necessarily pray publicly. third option is to have one service a month instead of two. And the main benefit for that is, you know, if there's a challenge finding service leaders, that might be a way to go. So I wanted your thoughts about what would meet your spiritual needs the best for the upcoming summer. And we'd be willing to go with it. Once we make a decision, though, I'm gonna put it in the newsletter and send it out, so.
So those who show up are the ones who get to make the decision, is
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Such is life. I mean, I could also put out a Google survey as well. You know, even though only maybe half people will answer it, it's more than, you know. But these are the people who are coming regularly, and I think it's a pretty good bellwether of what we might want to do. Again, advantage of continuing to do things as we do them is that people can come on autopilot, they know when we're here, we're not making them think, which is not meant to be an insult, it's just.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. So I'm willing to at least show up. Yeah, I'm not. There's only 1 week I'm planning to be gone for the holidays. And the second Saturday of July, I'm probably not going to be here. But for the rest of it, I could show up and, you know, keep the temple open. Well, what are your thoughts, though? Every 2 weeks like usual? Every 4 weeks, or close down until August, late August?
I don't want to close. I don't want to close down until late August. I mean, we finally got air conditioning and can continue to do things. And there are people who are going to have, you know, there are going to be people who have yurt sites. There's going to be people who are sick that we're going to be wanting to pray for.
So we can continue to meet those needs. I'm sorry.
Michael, at the annual meeting, we committed to doing every other week, all the way through, and observing holidays.
Okay, that is
That was
true.
the decision of the group at the time.
Jessica?
Yeah.
I recognize your comment.
I'm also here most of the summer. Obviously, I can't make it every single time we meet. I do the best I can. But I would commit to helping lead a service once a month over the summer. So, and to do it with someone else in conjunction, or if no one else is available, to do what I can on my own. So that could take care of one of those two for a leader if we chose just to do one. But if we do the commitment of two, if there was someone else who was willing, then I think we should just keep going as usual, only because I find it comforting, and I like coming here. I like seeing everyone a couple times a month, and you know, it's an important part of my life, and whether it's summer or not, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Well, since we still have the people willing to, see, I recognize your comment that we made it by resolution, but resolutions can be voted again, but I agree it would take a board decision to change it. However, if we didn't have even if we committed, if we didn't have the resources to come in and do it, then it's an empty commitment. But it sounds like we have the willingness to actually back it up this summer. So I'm willing to continue doing it twice a week. You know,
Twice a month.
continue
I'm not willing to go to twice a week.
I'm sorry, twice a month.
But if, for example,
Monday and Thursday Torah readings, come on.
right, but say for example, you weren't available. Like, my personal feeling is no one should feel obligated to come if, sometimes I'm just simply too tired to come. And that may indeed happen to you, my friend. So as long as you stay in touch with us, someone can be here to keep the building open in case anyone shows up. Doesn't have to be you.
Sure.
I think we'll be able to do it too. Akiva said that he'd be willing to help after the wedding, and so
There you
you
go.
know, that's real soon.
So it sounds like we can keep on trucking, is what I'm hearing. And I'm okay with that if you are. I just want to make sure that the resources were there, and then the individual commitment as well as the group resolution was there.
What, may I ask our friends who are here so often, and we so appreciate your presence, will you be here during the summer? Are you traveling?
Some of both. We will be here when we can.
Katie, what about you and your fiance? Are you around this summer? Are you traveling?
We're here, he's here for a month, and then, someone can come this month, and then he's going home, and then I will be here, and we're used to having WhatsApp, but I feel now safe, and I will probably come, and then we'll have our later, because sometimes he works later on Friday, and then when he's done, we'll have our Shabbat.
It sounds like we're good. This is usually the time we talk about the Torah, and the Torah is usually the time we do the Mishaberak blessing. Let's turn to page 253. Is there anyone for whom we would like to say? I have, it's in the book now, so we don't need that.
Janice Broder.
Yes, Janice Broder, Neil Young,
My brother-in-law, Robert Donahue,
Gary Byer,
Sandra Hare,
Yes, and
Robert Pepper.
So,
before we do it, we were supposed to stand and open the
Yes,
heart,
thank
aren't we?
Mishaberak Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Le'imoteinu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberak Imoteinu Mekor HaBracha Avoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We remain standing for the beginning of Aleinu on page 282, at the bottom section, bottom half. I always thought that the Aleinu was said with the ark open, but I'm not absolutely certain of that, but that's how I have a lot of memories of doing it. Do you know for sure?
I don't know, you don't get
We'll do the first verse of the Aleinu standing with the ark open.
Aleinu l'shabeach li'adon ha'kol, l'teinu la'yoseh Bereshit, shelo asanu b'goyeh haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishmechot ha'olam, shelo sam k'ginu hahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol ha'olam. ששמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומשב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו, ושכינתו זו, בגופי מרומי, הוא אלוהינו ואין עוד, אמס מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום, וידעת היום להשמיות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ, ועל הארץ, מתחתיו אין עוד, אין עוד.
We therefore hope in you, Adonai our God. May we soon behold the glory of your might, sweeping away the false gods of earth, that idolatry may be utterly destroyed, perfecting the world under the rule of God, and all humanity invoke your name, turning all the wicked of the earth towards you. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. May all created in your image become one, united in spirit and friendship, forever in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. Amen. And in the middle of page 286, we'll just the indented part, V'ne'emar. V'ne'emar, V'chayeh Adonai, L'melech al kol haaretz,
Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Is anybody interested in reading one of the prelude English sections leading up to the Kaddish tone on page 294?
I'll be happy to read one.
I'll read one.
Jessica, you can go first. You can read both.
Which one to, you mean the first one?
You can pick one.
Oh, pick one.
Yes.
I'll pick one I don't know.
Page 288.
Yeah, we're on 288, and there's a bunch of, options. Yeah. I'll do number 2. When nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision, or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death, all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you.
Katie, would you like to read one?
6? Is that too far?
No, anyone you want?
Okay. And it's hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were, in company with those we love. You cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one, whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose.
Number 7. There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light. Long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we love. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember.
Thank you very much. All very beautiful readings. The Mourner's Cottage is on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divra hirtei, v'yamlik malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chaye v'chol Beit Israel, ba'agalav uv'izman kariv, b'ru. Yehesh me Rabbah Mevarach Ve'olam Almei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithalei v'yithalal shmei d'krusha b'riku. Leila min kol b'yirchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nehamata da'amiran v'alma v'ru. Amen. Yehesh lama Rabbah min Shemaya Chaim Aleinu al Kol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Osei Shalom V'imramav, Hu Ya'asei Shalom Aleinu, V'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru
Amen.
I want to sing Yigdal for a final. Somebody help me find the actual page. Here it is, 324.
Oh, that one.
Do the first 3 verses and then the last verse. You might find that pattern familiar. Yigdal Elohim Cha. Actually, you know, I apologize. You're supposed to do the whole thing because it's like a set of beliefs, and you shouldn't leave one out. Yigdal Elohim Chai v'yish ta'ava nimsa b'nei mitziuto echad v'enachi k'yihudo milam gam ein sof laputo ein lo d'mikaguf v'einu guf lo na'rok elav kedushato kadmon l'chol davar asher nivra rishon ve'ein reshit v'reshito ino adon olam u'chol notzar yorei v'duato malchut Moshe Segula Tova Tifarto Lo Kam B'Yisrael V'Moshe Od Navi Mabid Etunato Torah Temet Natan La'am Oel Hayad Go Edman Be'ito Lo Yachalif Ha'el V'Lo Yamir Dato La'olamim Mezulato Sofen Liodei Tzitareinu Mabit L'Sof Davar V'Chad Mato Gomel Ish Chesed V'mi Follow Notein L'Hasham V'Kvishato Yishlach L'Ketz Yamim Pedut Olam Kol Chai V'Yeshafir Yeshuato Chaye Olam Nata B'Tocheinu Baruch Adei Hashem Tehilato. Thank you all for coming out and making this a lovely time together.